right. Episode number 19.
You can't flip in here today.
I know. I can't run and jump.
Like rolls into the camera.
Yeah.
19.
I don't know numbers yet. Bom dia.
Bom dia.
That's all I remember from Portuguese.
We're learning Portuguese from an app, so it's not going well.
It's going fine. I've heard you guys do it. And
yes, it's not horrible.
She says I'm getting better.
Yeah, he was doing it yesterday. You know what he was talking about.
Oh God, it's so hard. It's so difficult.
I think it'd be easier if you put marbles in your mouth.
Oh God.
It might be. No. I just recently found out that the DE sound at the end of a word is a J sound. So whenever I see the word grande, like it's grande in Spanish, but in Portuguese it's grande.
Yep.
And then if DE is in front of it and it's de grande, it's de.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Desculpe.
it's the same letters, completely different pronunciation. It's just like English.
Some Brazilian's going to look at this podcast and be like, those idiots.
Yeah. It's stupid. Yeah.
Okay, well, welcome to episode number 19. This is an episode that Brittany and I are really excited about, of a BJJ marriage.
Yeah. I've been talking about doing this episode since before we even started this podcast. So
yes.
I'm excited.
But we got a white belt.
Hello.
A blue belt.
Blue
a purple
belt.
A brown belt. And a black belt. Now we just need a core belt and a red belt to fill it up.
Next week, we would have Master Sauer.
Yes.
I think we should try to get Master Sauer to say something on camera next week. I think it would be cool.
Well, we'll be here. He'll be here for Sunday, so
Yeah.
Maybe you guys can have him on.
We'll see.
Very cool.
Yeah, but thank you guys for coming on the podcast. So we're your hosts, Brittany and Nick, and then we've got Dave Jahns.
I'm Dave.
We
Hi, Dave.
Brett.
Hi, Dave.
Dave's not here, man.
Hi, Brett.
Hi.
And we got our professor, Brenton Fitzgerald.
Woo!
No, he doesn't deserve a hand clap. Don't even.
Hey, he gives us our stripes. Be nice.
Yeah. He gave me life, so I guess I gotta be nice.
I don't know, you didn't ask for it.
This is true. I don't think he did either.
Well.
That's another topic. Episode 20.
So, really quick, I want everyone to show off their mugs today. We do this. This started with Austin because he was like, "What kind of coffee mugs are you drinking out of today?" And this is like episode 3. So not every episode we're just like, well, we gotta have a fun coffee mug just for Austin. So I got my Carroll University class of 2018.
I have one of my favorite bands.
That you're not showing a logo for.
A day to remember. This is a left-handed coffee cup.
Yeah.
I have Deadpool.
Good old
I
Deadpool.
have no idea what I am.
That's R2D2.
Brittany, I am your father.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's perfect.
I didn't like that. But yeah, so
You're supposed to say no.
and then fall off the camera.
Without a hand.
But yeah, so we have a bunch of people on today, and we plan to talk more about our jiu-jitsu and how these guys mostly got started. A lot of you guys know Nick's and my story already, but we wanted to get more perspectives as we've just been kind of pretty new to the game, and these guys definitely have a little bit more experience than we do. So let's have you kick it off.
Oh, yeah, let's go young to old.
It's this kind of age too, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's
A little
typical. I mean, that's typical of dogs.
That was your daughter.
Yeah, I know dogs. Yeah, that's actually typical. The older you are, the higher rank that you're gonna get, because it takes a long time to level up in jiu-jitsu. You know, it's not like most other martial arts where in 5 years you're a black belt, and by the time you're 22 you're a 5th degree black belt,
Right.
or 6th degree black belt. So I think the youngest I know is Sam Neverman. How old was he? 20?
Yeah, I
20 when he
believe
was
he's
20 or
around.
21
Yeah.
when he got his black belt, and he was training for 9 years at that point. And
Wow.
he got 8, 8.5, somewhere around there. Sam might correct me. Sam Naverman. Only guy to ever hit a berimbolo on me.
Denise
but
almost got a berimbolo on me.
I heard you
Almost.
say it.
I stuffed it. I was like, no, I just learned this yesterday.
But the older you get, the more experience you can have on the mat, just in a physical way. Like if you're 20, unless you started when you were a kid, you're not going to have those 10 years of experience. So a lot of people find this when they're in their 20s. So by the time they're 30, then that's the time that they're getting black belts. Most 20-year-olds are not getting black belts.
Yeah, but we're seeing a lot of new waves of like instructors' kids that are like
Crushing people
at like 15.
Yeah.
And then they're black by their 19.
Yeah.
And they're just destroying the rest of the competition.
And it's different because I always say right around 32 to 33 was my peak physical. Like I was in the best shape of my life. I was destroying people. Like I was brown belt and I was beating up on black belts pretty well because they were a little older than me. And I didn't have the skill that they had, but I had the athleticism that they did not. So I matched with them very well. And I actually have a couple wins in competition over black belts as a purple and brown belt, just because I was in such good physical shape at 29, 30, 31. So you raise up in skill level and in physical ability until about 35, and then at 35 you kind of plateau and then you start to decline just ever so little. So right now it's at 43, my skill is super high. Like I continue learning and my mind is expanding, and I'm learning better ways to do things and simpler ways to do things, but I have to do them simpler because I don't have the physical ability to do them like I used to 5, 7, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's changed my game. I've slowed down quite a bit, but I'm still catching what I was catching. It just doesn't take me as much effort anymore.
Which is good.
Yeah. It's a nice evolution, and it's helped me become more of a teacher than a doer, but I'm still at the point where I'm very good at doing still. But 5 years from now I might not be as good as I would like to be, but I'll still be able to intellectualize and dissect situations in a better way, but my physical will continue to wane just a little bit. And that's what Master Helio said also when he was old. He put a blue belt on. He's like, all these blue belts can now tap me out because I'm 90 years old. Like I can't keep up with the 25 and 30-year-old black belts. So he put on a different belt and he put on his blue belt.
Yeah.
Joe was just telling me yesterday that jiu-jitsu makes you lazier. Because he's a blue belt now, and he was like, it was way more of a workout at white belt than it is at a blue belt.
Oh, 100%. But he's also at that 35 mark.
Yeah.
Where he's hit that plateau of, this is as good physically as I'm ever going to be. Like, you look at Randy Coach, you look at the 40-year-olds who are fighting, they're not what they were when they were 30.
Yes.
You know, they're still awesome. They're still great. Chuck Liddell and Matt Hughes and Randy Couture, like, they're still really, really good fighters. But when they were 30, they were top of their game. They were 30 is that age of, like, you are a demigod at 30.
I'm almost there.
Yeah, you're 39, right?
41.
41? Yeah. So, would you agree, age-wise, relative?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think your physical and mental peaks around 32.
Yeah. At 33, I would say was like my physical and intellectual pinnacle where they met at the top. And then my intellectual kept raising, but my physical stayed where it was, and then it started dipping just a little around 35, 36, 37.
So have like 3 or 4 more years before he calms down?
I don't know about calm down.
Well, he's never calming down.
You're 29?
Yes.
Going to be 30. So, and some people make it a little longer, but about 35 is when the physical starts to wane just a little. It doesn't go away. It's not like you wake up and like, oh my God, I suck at this and I can't move, which that does happen too.
My back.
That's every day.
But 33 is like that top physical and top mental where they meet, because you've gained so much experience and you're physically the best you're ever going to be, and then you continue to gain experience, but your physical doesn't quite keep up with the experience you're gaining. So, and that's kind of Brett would agree, relative. And if you talk to 40 and 50-year-olds that have been training, they're probably going to say, yeah, about 35 is probably that age where I was like, I'm the man. And then you start to dip and you're like, I'm kind of the man still, but
you can still do it, but it just takes more effort.
Yeah.
You have to train harder,
take a little more rest.
Yeah.
I only train 3 times a week now. I only roll 3 times a week. I'm teaching more than that, but I'm only rolling, like on the mat, physically sparring 3 times a week.
Nick over here is like, I rolled for 4 hours yesterday.
Yeah.
Until I bled.
And you're at your physical, you're right there where 3 years from now is going to be the best you will ever feel. So get your competition in now and just go destroy people.
That's my plan.
Because you're going to go in and you're going to just destroy people. You're going to feel like $1 million afterwards, and you're going to have that legacy of, this is what I did when I was coming up. Because that's what I did. I was 39 and 11 in competition, and I competed all the way up to 35 or so. And then I haven't competed in the last 6-7 years at all, but I have those accomplishments. And I read a quote the other day, and it said, nobody can take away your accomplishments unless you didn't have any. I thought that was pretty cool, because it's like deep. You have to go do stuff to say, I did stuff. You need to follow me so you can do stuff.
Lead by example.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things.
I've talked too much. Brett.
When
Brett's not used to being on camera and talking.
So when did you start jiu-jitsu?
I was first exposed to jiu-jitsu in like 1992 or 93.
I wasn't even alive.
Right around the time Hoist Gracie. was won the first UFC.
Okay, is that what got you into jiu-jitsu, or what? Yeah, what was your introduction?
I was training with a guy who was a kickboxer. I was into karate, and then I met this guy who was a kickboxer, and his trainer was into like judo and Japanese jiu-jitsu and stuff, and he had them grappling all the time. So he'd learn a couple moves, and he'd come and show us, and we'd train for hours, and we hardly knew anything.
How old were you then?
I was like 12, 13 years old.
Oh, okay, wow.
And our jiu-jitsu was a lot more rough than what you guys do, or what you guys are used to. We used to knee to the legs, knee to the body, bend fingers back, fish hook. You got beat up.
That sounds like Japanese jiu-jitsu.
That
sounds like. It sounds like Jason Bergman.
You get beat up. My legs are purple inside and out. I mean, we'd grab inner thighs and
pinch everything and just make it move.
We'd box for 2 hours, and then we'd
grapple.
We'd grapple for 2 hours.
13.
Well, 13 years old, and I was trained with all adults. There was no one else my age. I mean, we'd train at my friend's house.
Wow. Where'd you grow up?
Ironwood, Michigan.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't mess with Brett.
Brett charged me the other day. I screamed like a little girl.
But that was the first time I was exposed. I didn't actually start getting jiu-jitsu rank until like 2010. Everybody I trained with up there kind of moved away and left the area, so I never really got to spend many years training with them. I think like right around 97 is when everybody was pretty much gone, and I didn't have anybody.
After high school.
Yeah, well, they were after high school already in the early 90s, but they left for jobs and stuff like that.
Okay.
Who needs to work?
Yeah,
works way
And then you were at Nutrigon when you started, right? In 2010.
Actually, my first actual jiu-jitsu school I went to was in San Jose, California.
Oh,
I was out there for about 2 years.
You lived in California.
I was just out there.
I'm learning all this stuff about Brett. We've been friends for like 12 years. And I was like, what? You're a girl? I knew that.
It was like, I was there for like 3 months. I trained at jiu-jitsu school, and it was a lot different just going for submissions than it was being able to fish hook people. And,
that one.
I mean, we used to do ankle locks and
was
stuff
that
like
2010?
That was in 2006.
Okay.
But I didn't actually start
Didn't get
getting
any rank or anything.
I didn't get any rank. The difference between California jiu-jitsu and Midwest jiu-jitsu,
Especially back in the 90s.
no,
In mid
to this day even the
To this, yeah.
to this day even when you do a hip out, we call it shrimp. They call it snake move in California.
Oh,
So if you hear somebody say snake move, that's what it is.
interesting.
Yeah.
Start saying that in competition.
Do the snake move.
Right?
What?
Yeah.
I love it.
Interesting.
Super cool.
And in 2010, well, I trained with Adrian Serrano for a little bit when I first moved down here in
Which he was
2000.
one of the only places around other than Henry.
That's the first person I trained of any kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, MMA with. I trained at Adrian for maybe 3 months in 2010-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, he was one of the only schools that did jiu-jitsu other than Henry's. I think 360, Red Schaefer, and Nutriground all opened right around 2008, 2007, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's right around when I graduated high school.
Because he came to Nutriground for a little bit when he left Boots.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think around 2010, 11, he started his.
Wow.
Yeah,
What a journey, man.
Much.
But yeah, I ended up at Nutriground in 2010. I never lost my desire for it. It's just I was an over-the-road truck driver for a few years and stuff like that. You can't really train anywhere. You kind of drive by these places and you're looking and
Your semi.
Yeah, you're in your semi truck
looking
at these jiu-jitsu places saying, oh, I wish I could just train somewhere steady. And then 2010, I ended up going to John Friedland. And actually, one of the guys that I trained with up north, there was 4 of us, back in the fish hook and the thigh days, was John's first jiu-jitsu teacher up in Green Bay.
Oh, the guy he used to travel to, the Blue Belt?
Yeah, Mick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
And
you guys probably don't know that story.
Nope.
John, I believe, was in the Army. When he got out, he went there and grappled.
Yeah.
And that's when they started training together. So when I moved down here, after I was down here for a little bit, I contacted Mick again after not talking to him for probably 5-6 years.
And Mick sent you to John?
He said, try out John's, try out Henry's, whichever one you, wherever you want to go. He said, it's up to you. They're both good and stuff. So I went to John's and I never left. Because I was like 30 years old. I like going out and stuff. And
Nutriground. That's what Nutriground did.
It's a great idea, man.
So I never left there. And, I stayed there for 11 years, I believe it was.
Yeah, and that's where you started ranking, right?
Yeah, that's where I started ranking. I believe I got my first stripe 3 or 4 months in the training.
After you stopped fish hooking people?
Hey, I can still see him though. I can still see it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So really, Brett is just a black belt when we don't know it yet. Because he's been training a long time.
Yeah, I've been...
His whole life.
Yeah, we'd get fish hooked so hard your lip would almost get fat and it'd bleed sometimes. And
that's rough.
It's not enjoyable. Why would you keep doing that?
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It does not.
When you can do it, when you do it back, it's more fun.
Then we started working on strikes. Like you shoot in. Okay. Back in the 90s, we'd the striking. All I had was karate point fighting gloves. You ever see them? They're real thin.
Yes.
We'd punch each other right in the face with them. I mean,
basically just leather, right?
It's thinner than an MMA glove. It's this thick. Yeah, we'd punch each other with them. We'd end up with black eyes. We'd end up with black eyes, broken noses, everything.
For sure, you probably broke your fingers too. Some people broke their fingers.
Yeah, it was
brutal.
It was different. But during that time, a lot of the guys that did that stuff, I mean, not so much the guys that I was trained with, but just people in general, and you could ask John this, they aren't training anymore. They got hurt during that.
Yeah, they can't.
Tapping out was a bad thing.
Oh.
Yeah, and nobody wanted to tap out because they always felt like, oh, this guy's better than me if I tap out. Well, a lot of times they end up screwing up, their ankles or joints because of it.
Yeah.
Tapping out is jiu-jitsu's superpower for training.
Yeah.
Tap out and then you get
Sauer
right
talks
back
about
in.
that. Yeah.
It's better to tap out a little bit too early than it's too late. That's for sure.
I wish our kids would understand that.
No, kids are dumb.
A lot of them are so flexible.
Kids.
A lot of them are so flexible that it doesn't bother them.
Daddy.
Just on Friday, one of the kids got caught in an omoplata, and then he was screaming tap, but the other kid didn't know how to let go of the omoplata, and then it's like, it was terrible. We looked over and we're like, why is he crying? Oh.
He could do omoplata, but can't figure out how to get out of it.
Well, we think he rolled forward after he tapped instead of like
backing
unwinding. He kept going to like get out of it. I think that's
how did I miss
If
that?
you watch a lot of the old Brazilian
and
tournaments and
Leo
stuff,
did
that's what they'll do. They'll stand up and walk away. They'll snap the
Brazilians,
guy's
man.
shoulder.
Yeah.
Like Jakar in or Sousa, who got his arm broke.
Jacare.
Jakar, yeah.
Yeah, he's an animal.
Yeah, he just got his arm broke like 3 weekends
It's
ago.
probably the first
And then he
time
stood up and shook the guy's hand and was like, great arm break.
He was gonna keep fighting.
Yeah.
Stopped it.
Yeah, it's a different mentality. Hoist broke his arm and kept going.
That sounds like you guys.
Yeah, I thought about it.
It's a tough sport, and it was different even when I started. Like we just rolled. Like it wasn't a lot of technique. It was just let's fight to the death.
Figured out.
That's how it was when I started. Where I started, it was just they
A lot of schools still are that way.
and you just get shit kicked out of you for
Yeah.
an hour and a half.
Yeah.
When did you start purple belt, Dave?
Started like
For the record, he was late. Because he's a purple belt. Or the latest.
early
No comment.
January 2017. I started,
Okay.
and
4.5 years.
I went to Nova, and it was originally just to get back in shape because I wrestled in high school and I was in shape.
Yeah, I was going to say, what sparked your interest to go to Nova? Or just to go to jiu-jitsu in general?
I was really out of shape, and I was talking to a friend, and they were like, well, you liked wrestling. Why don't you try jiu-jitsu? It's like wrestling, except for different. And
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Your
So-
friend hates you.
So I just kind of Googled what was in the area, and Nova was the closest jiu-jitsu school, so I was like, okay,
Very
that's where I'm
typical.
going.
Jiu-jitsu near me. That's
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Number one search term.
And I got started, and then I started, going from, okay, I'm training like twice a week to 3 times a week to 4 times a week. I was training like 6 days a week, and
Now, do you have any rest days?
yeah, Wednesday.
Oh, okay, great.
the no-gi day. That's the day you picked for your rest day now?
No, it was forced because people can't keep to the schedule they plan, and
Yeah.
It used to be Thursday. He used to take Thursdays off.
Thursday used to be my day off,
Yeah.
and then the plans I had on Thursday got switched to Wednesdays, and
I think you always have to take some kind of day off.
Yeah.
If not 2. It's
I do
important
take
for
a
your
day
body to
off.
rest.
Stop looking at me like that.
So you're what, 33?
yeah,
Yeah. So you're at the pinnacle of physical. So you'll learn that you need to take a little time off in the
I'm
next
gonna
few
start
years.
having to actually rest and shit.
I see you walk. You need to take some time
Walk?
off sometime.
Using walking is a loose term.
Dave doesn't walk. Dave limps.
Dave has some hip issues. Talk about your weight loss with jiu-jitsu though.
So when I started, I was weighed in at probably 315.
You heard that right.
Yeah.
315
I
pounds.
never knew that.
Yeah.
We're all learning things.
You don't recognize Dave. Like I met you when you were like 200-ish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. The first time you probably saw me, I was
About 200.
mid 200 or 220-ish.
Were you that big? 220?
When I first started at Fluid, I was almost down to 190.
Okay.
But I probably saw you at competitions,
Yeah.
whatnot before.
Yeah, but Dave's pictures, if you see him from 7-8 years ago,
Yeah.
he
I
was
was
big. He was literally twice the size he is right now.
How much do you weigh now?
Right now, I'm about 190-ish.
But he just went to a wedding, so he's 195.
Yeah.
Probably like 200 after last night. But we're not going to talk about that.
Does semen weigh that much?
Brittany's like,
Cheers, dark side.
oh yeah. But
This
you've
is not
also,
for kids, right?
That's
That's what you said.
Dave
There's
has,
a whole buffet, right?
So Dave's lost like 130 pounds, right?
Yeah.
yeah, and he's competed at 170,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which
And-
is,
Which is a rough cut for him, but still.
Yeah, I'm not cutting down to
Yeah.
that anymore.
But
but
185
it's
is
a huge accomplishment.
huge
Yeah.
accomplishment. Jiu-Jitsu has changed your
Everything for me.
metaphysical
Yeah.
being. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Proud of
4.5
you for
years.
that.
Yeah. 4.5 years. And just kind of keep going.
Talk about when you got your blue belt, though.
So I went from a no stripes to 2 stripes on my white belt. And then I was talking to a friend and I was like, yeah, I'm nowhere near blue belt level. Like, I'm not ready. And the next day, our coach came out with a bag of belts. And he walks down the line, yeah, you, and just tosses like 3 or 4 people belts. And I got my blue belt literally the day after I was telling somebody there's no way I was anywhere near that level.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Did you feel like you were afterwards?
No.
No.
I'll
Did
still
you
try.
ever?
Well, I noticed over the years it was like you don't think you're at that level because these guys beat you up or
Yeah.
whatever during training. But then you actually roll with them after you get the rank, and you're like, "Hey, I am at their level." And you just
surviving.
didn't know it. You know, it's like if it's somebody from a different school or something like that you've rolled with
Yeah.
before.
Did you feel that way? Like after you got it, you were like, "Oh, I do okay."
I got
I
superpower
get
now.
that every once in a while, but I have major imposter syndrome with all my belts. I'm like,
When I got my black
Really?
belt, man, I was looking at like Marcelo Garcia and John J. Ribeiro and Saulo Ribeiro, Rafael Lovato. Like I was looking at these top competitors, like they're
Mhm.
black belts. They were black belts. They weren't like striped black belts. They were black belts. And
Yeah.
here I am, a black belt. And I'm like, I'm not a black belt.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that one big thing that happens in jiu-jitsu is everybody compares themselves to other people for some reason. And all you should compare yourself is to you yesterday or you last week or you 3 months ago or you a
But
year
it's
ago.
still our
Okay, Mike, you
nature.
Plus,
it's still our
that's
nature.
how
Yeah.
you recognize what a black belt is or what a purple belt is. You look at other purple belts. You look at other black belts.
Yeah.
Also, competition. You're
Yeah.
going against someone who's your size, your rank, and if you
Yes.
lose and they win, or vice versa,
Right.
then you do compare
But
yourself.
the majority of people
Yeah.
that train jiu-jitsu aren't competitors.
Correct.
So all they have to really focus about is their own jiu-jitsu journey.
Yeah.
Unless you're an avid competitor, then you start looking at those other things and you're like, this is where I need to work myself to get to.
Competitors are a very different level, and that's what I was looking at. I was looking at the competitor black belts.
Right, like if you went to Worlds at the
But when I
IBJJ.
roll with other black belts, I really kind of beat the snot out of them, unless they're a competitor black belt, and then I roll with them kind of tit for tit, you know. But if it's just like a normal black belt that wants to roll, I kind of have my way with them.
Yeah.
But if they're a competitor, then it's like, oh, that's the level I'm at. And I always say that there are like a basketball team. You have a basketball team that you have your 5 starters, and then you have your bench, and then you have your third string.
Sure.
And there's that level of black belts. So you have your starters, which is John J. Ribeiro and Marcelo Garcia, Gordon Ryan now and all them.
Mhm.
And then you have people that you really don't know their name that are really good, which I
Sure.
would classify myself in. Like I'm in that. I'm actually in the. I feel like I'm in the 3rd tier of black belts. The 2nd tier is people that you don't really know their name, like Dan Borovic, but he's amazing.
And
John
he trains with
Gouda.
like all the UFC fighters, gets
Yeah.
everybody ready for fights.
And John Gouda, Chewy, I would
Yeah.
probably put in that like just under those
Mark
5
Vivas.
starters. Yeah, like those guys are above me, and then I'm the next level under that, and then there's another level under that, and then there's another level.
And then there's
under
like hobbyists. They're like, I've been doing this 15 years. This is fun.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, not putting Tom Mueller down, but Tom Mueller stopped focusing on jiu-jitsu, and he has 15 other things that he's doing now, and he just trains completely for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see him roll, it's like he's just going through motions because he loves to do jiu-jitsu, but he's not attacking at all anymore. He's getting tapped up by purple belts. You know, he's like, oh, that was really cool. He's just super flowy about it now. Where Tom Mueller used to be the best guy in Wisconsin. Yeah. So, because he had that drive and that desire, he was tough. Did you ever roll with Tom when he was top game?
Yeah, I rolled with him. Yeah,
he used to beat the
How many fish hooks did you get?
How many fish hooks?
Yeah, Tom Mueller used to beat the living tar out of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember Tom when I was growing up, and you guys were training at Henry's, and I would just go and hang out and like do my little coloring book or whatever. And Tom would always pick me up on his shoulders, and we run around the mat and we do all this fun stuff. And he's one of my favorites. And then I didn't see him for a long, long, long time until you opened up at the church, and then he started coming to the church. And I showed up at the church one day, and I was like, Tom.
Yeah.
And then he comes up to me, he's like, Brittany.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's like
Tom?
15 years later.
It was just so weird.
Yeah. Tom's one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet. He's just so chill, but he just doesn't take jiu-jitsu serious anymore. Like he just wants to do it for fun, and he just wants to roll around. So.
Yeah. Well, he's at that age too,
But it doesn't take away that he's a black belt.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. Like Tom put in his time. He's actually one of my 11 losses in competition. Tom put in his time, and he accomplished what he accomplished. He still earned his black belt, even though right now a lot of purple belts would be able to beat up on him because he's not training as much. Doesn't mean that he's not a black belt. He earned that.
I mean, he could probably turn it back on too.
He probably could. He'd have to take away from his biking, and he does a couple other extracurricular activities that have replaced the time he used to spend. Like he used to train 6 days a week. Sure. Every day he would train twice a day. He was like you guys when he was your age. Now he's in his 40s, and now he wants to do some other stuff, which is totally cool. He doesn't own a school. He doesn't, he just trains for fun now.
Yeah. Well, he also has black belt knowledge and experience. I mean, you can never take that from him.
Yep, you can never take that from him.
Yeah, the knowledge is one thing. Skill, if you don't practice it over time, can definitely fade.
Keep it. Yeah.
You gotta keep that sharp.
Especially when you're at a higher level. I mean, whenever I got rank, I was like, I always trained harder right after I got it because I was like, now I have to live up to this.
Well, to Tom's credit, I've seen him get beat up by purple belts and brown belts, and he continues to train. Master Sauer talks about these black belts in Brazil. Once they start get beat up by athletic 22-year-old blue belts and purple belts, they quit. Yeah. They're black belts, and they quit. Because they're 40, they're 50, they're black belts, 2 straight black belts, 3 straight black belts, and they're getting beat up by blue belts now because all they knew was hard rolling. And they can't roll hard anymore because they're 20 years past their prime. And they quit because now the 22-year-old just hurt them at 50. And they're like, yeah, this just isn't worth it.
Yeah,
like,
it takes forever to recover.
Yeah. So, and he talks about it all the time. He says, almost everybody I trained with doesn't train anymore. He says, of the couple hundred people I trained with throughout the years, 20 or 30 of them are training.
Yeah.
That earned black belts. Not just like, oh, they trained for a couple months. Like, these are people who ranked up for 10, 15 years.
Right.
And then they stop training because 22-year-olds come in and they try to match with them. And Master Sauer talks about backing it off and being able to make it longevity. And I think Tom is doing a very effective job of backing off and making sure that he can roll like that when he's, 90 years old.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's one thing I always try to instruct whenever I'm teaching someone. Let's say you want to use this strong technique, this strong whole muscle group of your body, so that when you're 80, you can still do this movement instead of trying to just crank things and use your strength to get through technique.
Add strength to technique after you get the technique figured out.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, strength is your biggest weakness
Oh.
when you're starting jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Because when you rely on your strength, you don't have to learn technique. And then when you lose your strength when you're older or injured or whatever, then you don't have the technique to make up for the strength that you don't have anymore. So now you have nothing. But if you have technique, you don't need the strength, but you can add the strength to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or size.
For sure. Oh, yeah.
You're the same size as me. You figure out height to weight ratio, you're the same size as me.
Okay.
And especially after that donut, you might be more.
Blueberry lemon Bismarck. That was pretty fantastic.
So, how do you feel as a white belt looking at all these belts in front of you?
Like these ones or just belts? Because these ones are just fine.
We're okay.
No, I'm kidding. I definitely always try to watch, like whenever I see you two rolling together, or if you guys are rolling with John Friedland or another higher belt, like it's definitely something that I try to pay attention to, because I know that I'm so far away from that right now that I'm like, okay, what are they doing that I'm not? And then I just try to pick up all of those little cues, because I am just starting. I have only been doing this for 2 years, and you've been doing it for 4?
3.5-ish, 4.
3.5, and then 4.5. How many years?
Well, straight or
22.
straight or first to gain exposed to it.
What do you like? What do you?
What do you tell people?
I would say the whole time I got rank, I would.
So 11 years now?
Yeah, it's about 11 and a half.
Yeah. And then
11
you're
and a
at
half,
almost
12.
20.
Yeah, 19 and a half now.
So I have a long, long, long way to go before I can have some stories that are actually impactful or meaningful.
But 2 years you'll be, 2.5 years you'll be where they are. And if you really think about it, I mean, you only got 7 or 8 more years till you're a black belt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at it that way, 7 or 8 more years, you're going to be 32. You'll be at the prime. Like, that is...
You could be a killer.
You're going to be a killer. She's already a killer.
Yeah.
But
Gotta
you're
pay
going to
attention.
you're going to be at your prime through purple and brown, and then when you hit black, you'll be at the pinnacle of knowledge and
Perfect timing.
physical.
You waited for the perfect time.
Yeah, I actually started at your age too. I started at 24.
Yeah, and that's something that I was thinking about when you guys were talking about how you went through it all when there was just so much aggression, and you always talk about how you never had beginner classes, like you just rolled. And we're all within the last 5 years, and jiu-jitsu's changed so much in the last even 10 years.
Yeah.
And I've always...
No fish hooks anymore.
No fish hooks.
But, I mean, even when you talk about it all the time, we are thankful, I would say, at least on this end, that we actually have those beginner classes that we could always abide by. And Nick is a preacher on saying, like, I don't care, I'll be a black belt still going to beginner class, because it's always good to know the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And it's always good to, like, catch those little tiny details. Like, every time I go to beginner class, I always see one thing that I'm like, I've never done.
I stopped doing that. Or I've never seen that detail. I still do that sometimes when I see people teaching something that I've taught. I'm like, oh, that's a cool little detail. I don't teach that.
Well, I've also seen it where you don't teach it, but I see the little detail that you're adding.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's too little of a detail to add to a beginner class.
So I try to keep it to 4 to 5 steps when
Just
I
like
teach.
kids class.
Miguel used to do 3. He was really good at breaking stuff down to 3. That's a little too simplistic, I think. But I try to keep it to 4 or 5. 4 if I can, 5 if I need to. But anything over that, the big picture kind of gets lost, and you don't see the picture for what it is because it's too broad. Like you focus in on one little thing and you don't see the rest of it. So
Yeah, like when you try to teach a triangle for the first time.
yeah,
People are like, huh?
You do what?
It's always difficult. But I always say, the first time you see something, you usually don't get it, unless you're a phenom and just get jiu-jitsu, most people don't get it on the first try.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's like a private, they might.
Yeah, but even then, like if you had someone who never saw a triangle and you do it in a private with them, it's still going to be hard for them to catch a triangle.
Yeah,
to
they're
apply
not going to have the time.
Right.
They'll know the mechanics of it and stuff because you'll get to spend an hour with them rather than 10 minutes during a class.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a private, you just let me know.
Nick's privates are great.
That's what I've heard. I don't play with my private.
You've seen it in the group, haven't you? Everybody's playing with Nick's privates.
So there is something that I did want to bring up in this, and sorry,
Really
this is kind of going to exclude you three because I do want it to be between a black belt and a white belt conversation, but you always go through your cog theory, and if you could explain that, and then I'll tell you where my mind goes when you explain that as a white belt.
Okay. Cog theory is actually something that I came up with a few years ago. And essentially, you have your watch. If you picture the inside of a watch, you have all these little cogs that churn, and each one churns one, and it churns the next one. So as this one turns, and they all turn synchronously.
In sync.
In sync.
In sync.
That was not a good group in the 90s. There's a word for that. Nick, lick this word. So they all turn in sync with each other. So as one turns,
Synchronized?
they all turn. Synchronized. Thank you.
He did that without Google.
Yeah, you see, I typed it and I was like,
Thanks, Nick.
there it is.
So you have all these cogs, and each technique that you do has a certain number of cogs. And it doesn't matter if it's an armbar or a hip escape from mount or whatever it is. Each thing that you do to get to the end is like a cog. And you don't have to stop the first thing of the system to make the entire thing stop working. You can actually pull the last cog out and make it not finish. Or you can pull a middle cog out and make it stop in the middle. Or you can pull the first cog out and they can never get it started. All right, so if someone's trying to armbar you, if you don't let your arm go across their midsection, you can keep your elbow over, then they can never armbar you. And that's the first cog. Well, if they start to get here and you're like, oh, I'm going to get my arm back, but now they're 2 steps ahead and now they threw their leg over and they're starting to attack your arm, then you're still trying to fight the first cog, but the first cog's already been turned. So you need to fight the cog that's ahead of it rather than trying to fight the cog as it comes. You need to know the series so you can pull one of them out. Mm-hmm. And that's how you defend every submission. I don't get tapped out very often, and I hear some black belts say, oh, you should tap out often, you should get caught in this, your students should catch you. And it's like, but I know how to defend this because I'm not allowing them to finish the series. Even with leg locks. Like, I know what you need to do to leg lock me. Mm-hmm. I'm just not going to let you get there because I know how the cogs work to get there. And I don't have to defend the leg lock. I have to defend one part of the leg lock. I don't have to defend you grabbing my foot. I can defend you leaning back. I can defend you getting your hook over the top. I can defend my foot not flexing. Like, I've got options to defend. I just need to pick one of those options before you get to it.
Yeah. It's a good system. It helps me think about things a lot.
Yeah.
I really like the cog theory. I think it's a great way to break things down. But for the first year that I heard it, it was completely over my head. It was everything that you said made sense to me. And then when I would go and apply that theory, I could not figure it out for the life of me.
Because you didn't know what the chain was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm still at that point in my jiu-jitsu life that I don't know what that chain is for every single thing. Mm-hmm. I got it at this point for like a basic armbar and a basic triangle. I know what they have to do because those are the ones that I've been working on. But if it's a leg lock, man, I just have to try to go the right way and not get leg locked. Sure. Like, that's where I'm at in
because
mine.
You haven't seen the cogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so it's very difficult for a white belt to try to comprehend the cog theory when they don't even know what the steps are for anything. And I know that, so I talk about it often that I competed as a 3-stripe white belt. and I had about 1.5 years of experience. And I was looking back at my videos, and I realized that everything that I was doing, I was going for submission over position. And I think the biggest thing that white belts need to learn before they even try to compete or before they move up in rank is they need to figure out that it's position over submission. And that's where the cog theory comes in. But because you're in that mindset of, oh, I just want to break this in and I want to get this armbar and I really want to get this triangle, you don't think about those 5, 6, 7, 8 steps to get there.
Mm-hmm.
You just think about, oh, well, if they're here,
it's an arm.
then I can lift my leg up.
When we were coming up, we only had an end.
Yeah.
There was nothing in between. It was we start and we finish.
Mm-hmm.
There was no like this is your steps to get there.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's the thing. When I first started, there wasn't even a blue belt in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
In fact, Mick, I believe, was the first blue belt. One of the guys that trained with me years
I've heard
before.
that, yeah.
And there was nobody really had knowledge. You'd watch videos and stuff like that.
VHS videos.
Yeah, VHS videos. Yeah. I might still have some.
I do.
With Hoist
I
Gracie
do.
and Horian and
I have some DVDs still too.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But yeah, we didn't have. I never heard about like a sequence, and it was never taught in steps. It was always, well, you just throw your leg over and you clamp down.
This
And here's
armbar.
your armbar.
Yeah. And I
That
think
was
that's how a
always-
lot of white belts are, is they don't even see a submission. I remember for my first 6 months, you would constantly like give me your arm, and I just wouldn't see it.
Yep.
And I remember being so frustrated because you'd be like, "There's an armbar." I'm like, "Where? I don't get it."
I do that for every white belt. I literally give you the first and second cog, and I take their hip, and I'll pull their hip over me, and they fight me and go back.
Yeah.
They all do.
Why don't you do that for me anymore? Yeah. What the heck?
You have learned your lesson, boys.
Dang it. We're going to come out white belts next week.
Yep.
But that's where the evolution, I think, comes in. And so, like, where I'm at right now is I'm just now finally starting to see the first and second step, I would say. And I'm still trying to figure out how to land in that 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. You're probably 1, 2, 3, 4 down, and you're still trying to figure out 5 and 6 to make it nice and tuned and polished. You're probably at that last step, and you're just like, oh, I could do this better. And then you're probably at the step where you're like, I got this all down. No, how do I make it better? And then you're just like, yeah, I'm just going to keep teaching it.
Yeah.
That's your assumption of it?
That's my assumption. So tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. For me, some things I get confused on, like leg locks, like weird, like
Stuff you haven't
gogopadas.
seen
Yes.
that much. And that's what I'm talking about, is that if you haven't seen it, of course you don't know what cogs are there, so you don't know what to pull out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do it enough times, eventually you're like, oh, it becomes less transparent. Yeah. Less transparent and more visual. So you're like, oh, I kind of see an outline of that. Oh, it's a little darker.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll pull that one out.
Yeah, like things that are specifically in my game that I do all the time. Like people have a very hard time landing those on me because I understand wholly what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, what we needed to do when we were coming up, because we didn't have a cog theory to work off of, is somebody would do something to us, and they would do it 32 times, and we would have to figure out that 33rd time how to get away from it.
Yeah, or what they were doing.
And it was not, there wasn't a theory behind it, and we weren't paying attention to it enough. All we knew is, hey, he's going to go for my arm from there. Crap. He's going to go for my arm from, crap. He's going to go for, okay. Huh. Nope. Okay.
well, yeah, and then you're like, well, this time it took them longer.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yep.
that's
Yep. And then when
I
you
mean-
stop them, then they change what they do,
yeah,
and you have to figure something completely out.
yeah.
But if you apply the cog theory and you break it down and say, oh, that's what there's where, okay, watch this. Okay, I'm done. Because I know this leg has to come over when he takes this arm.
Mm-hmm.
You can find every detail in defending something by seeing it taught.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
That's
and that
good.
because it opens the cog theory to you.
Yeah.
So they're all invisible. All the cogs. And if you've ever seen a watch, the cogs are kind of in a
Pattern.
Yeah, they're in like a S almost pattern, like a wave almost in a watch. In the ones I've seen, anyways. And they're invisible as a white belt, but then as you see them, they become more and more pronounced. And now I know there's cogs there that you don't even know are there.
Right, but you're not going to teach a 10-step armbar.
Right, right. But I do. And actually, we've talked about doing an advanced class where we talk about those little details. And with you guys, a lot of times, I'll come by and say, put your foot right there. Mm-hmm. And you guys will be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because I don't teach that detail because that's that too broad, too much explanation where everything gets lost. Mm-hmm. But you guys already know all those, the 4 cogs. I'm giving you a little baby one in there that makes it that much better.
Right. Ups the leverage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Master Sauer does that for me, where he takes my cogs that I have, the little ones, and he puts even a smaller one on it.
Yep, where he teaches things that make us go, oh my god.
I'm really dumb.
I am an idiot.
Yeah. That's why I don't know jiu-jitsu.
So I feel like there's a lot of theories out there of what each belt means in jiu-jitsu and where you should be in your jiu-jitsu when you're at that specific belt level, whether that means the belt as its whole or at different stripes, because I know you have a different theory for each stripe on a belt. But I watched a video this week to prepare for this podcast just to see how it would correlate with it, and it was of a black belt. I think he's in Pennsylvania, and he explained what he thinks that each belt should be, and it's very similar to yours. But what he said is that when you're a white belt, you are basically just on defense, and you should be learning how to defend pretty much anything that comes your way. And then when you're finally hitting that blue belt, it's when you're starting to put more things together and you're starting to figure out how to actually move your body in ways around that defense and trying to put yourself in specific spots. And then when you're a purple belt, you're now finding a whole new part of yourself. Like, you're now basically changing everything that you've ever done and making it way different than how you learned, because now you're finding your own jiu-jitsu. And then by the time you're a brown belt, you've now pretty much found the way that you want to roll and the way that you want to be and the way that you want to be perceived, and now you're just polishing everything you're doing. And then by the time you're a black belt, you're just pretty much reinventing everything that you do and how you do it and how you teach it and how you want to explain it and how you want to be seen. Would you guys agree with that? Because that's how he explained it, and I thought it was different. I thought it was interesting.
As a skeleton, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would be really cool is maybe explaining what you guys think you should be doing as your belts right now, like where you feel like you should be.
How do you feel? What are you trying to work on as a white belt?
Should be.
It's an interesting question, right?
Everything?
Yeah. Working on everything. Okay. What's your main focus?
My main focus is I'm trying to figure out how I am in one position and where I want to get. So if I am in guard and I want to get to the back, how am I going to get there? And I try to think about that in my role. And so, okay, cool. I can hit an armbar, hit a triangle from here, but I don't want to. I want to go to the side and I want to try to cut an angle and maybe go for a leg instead. And that's what I'm trying to figure out, is how I want to get there. And I'm just playing around with that. So I'm doing a lot of weird stuff right now.
Well, that's good. Weird stuff increases your jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You've done a couple things that I was like, why are you doing that? I don't know. That's not supposed to be what happens from a white belt.
There was something I did with Ellie yesterday, and she was like...
You caught her yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah.
Sorry,
But she was like...
I know. I was watching it and I'm like, oh, she's in trouble. Oh, she's really in trouble. She was not happy.
No. But there was something that I did, and it was completely different, completely new, because I've been trying to pass her guard from standing. And so I keep getting up standing and trying different things, even if I have no idea what it's going to do. And I did one thing, and she's like, why'd you do that? I'm like, I don't know. I tried it out. It didn't work. Let's try again. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing.
All right, cool.
That's cool. For me, I'm trying to heal my knees right now by rolling more. That's the plan. But
Stay off your knees.
yeah, exactly.
Sell his privates.
Yeah. But for me, I'm really focusing on kind of like transitioning where they don't expect me to be is what I'm trying to do most, because when you go for a submission or where you go for a position, they expect you to follow the steps that would come next from that, but I try to take it from a different angle. So if they try to defend a certain way, I will try to go for something completely different. So that way, or just kind of see what opens up also. Mm-hmm. Because every time you go to defend something, there's something else that opens up. And I'm trying to find that hole of whatever opens up from what they defend from what I'm attacking. Just try to hop between those things is really what I'm trying to put together in my game.
So you're still putting things together at your level.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, and ultimately my game right now is trying to make people react 100% of the time so that they don't have any option to make me react, and then they're in control of the role. That's what I'm trying.
I'm trying to play with being in really bad positions and getting dangerous. So if you think you have me somewhere...
Oh, you thought?
It's a trap, and it's a trick. And just playing around with stuff, trying to figure out new stuff. And
I've been there with you. Like, oh, I'm here. Oh, no, I'm not. Yep. So would you say that's more of you trying to reinvent your jiu-jitsu?
Kind of, I guess. I'm just trying to find new stuff. Anything that's different that I don't do normally, or that you don't see normally.
Like the monoplata.
Yeah, I still need to actually learn that and figure it out. And I still have no idea how I got caught in it or what it was when I got caught.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've heard of the monoplata. I think I saw it once, but I don't remember what it looks like.
I never even heard of it. And he's like, yeah, that was monoplata. And
Like,
just
what
kept
the
on
heck is a
rolling.
monoplata?
That's what I was like. And we kept rolling. We just got beat up some more.
That's awesome.
What about you, Brett?
I'm trying to break down things more. Like the stuff I'm doing now, just break it down more into more details and stuff like that. Yeah.
My skeleton is working right now. It's not mine. I'm not taking credit for that.
But I would have to say, and tell me if you agree, most of the moves you'll ever do in jiu-jitsu is about halfway when you're halfway through blue belt. That's most of the basic moves you're ever gonna do, halfway through blue belt.
You've seen it at least.
You've seen it
100 times by blue belt.
But the basic jiu-jitsu, there's other stuff you'll do. I mean, it came up.
But everything shoots off of what you've learned.
Yeah.
Because probably 98% of what you're ever going to learn and do.
Yeah.
From those positions, 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
As a black belt, I've gone away a little bit from competing and more to teaching and passing on what I've learned over 19 years. And I'm still trying to learn myself by going to see Master Sauer and going to train with other black belts as often as I can, taking classes from other people I respect, even Mike Coy, our black belt at our school, because he came up as a brown belt, not under me, so he doesn't have my style. Mm-hmm. So the things that he teaches, a lot of that stuff I don't do on a regular basis. So when I see him teach it, it's like, oh, that's really cool. I don't do that. I'm gonna use it. I like it.
Yeah.
So and then I can change it just a little bit to fit my game. And there's some neat stuff. And when Rob was training with us, I learned a lot of cool stuff from Rob also. Yeah. Because he had trained somewhere. He had trained at a bunch of places, but he didn't train under me also. So it wasn't my stuff that Rob was teaching. It was Rob's stuff. Mm-hmm. And Rob's stuff was applicable to me. My stuff was applicable to Rob. My stuff is applicable to, and we all kind of sharpen each other. So.
Mm-hmm. Because he was taking yours, Mike's, and Rob's classes so often, he was always saying that he was like a mixture of you three.
Yeah. And it was so cool because we had 3 completely different styles.
Totally different.
Meshing it up. Yeah. I miss Rob quite a bit.
Yep.
He's not
Just
on
that
here,
guy.
Rob, you bastard. So my theory on belts has always been, as a white belt, you're focused on one thing, and that one thing is the only focus you have. By the time you get to blue belt, you're focused on two things. So everything is a string, and you're doing not just one thing. It's not just I'm going here. It's I'm going to go here, but I can go here also. I'm going here, but I can also go here. So everything has a string of two rather than this is what I'm going for. That didn't work. All right, I'm going to go right here. Okay, that didn't work.
That sounds about right.
Or I'm going here. Okay, cool, that worked. Sometimes it works. And then as a blue belt, it's like, oh, it didn't work. Okay, I'll go here. And then by the time you get to purple, it's like here, no, okay, I'll go here. And it's 3. And you're kind of bouncing between them. And then at brown belt, you're 4 things. And nothing is, well, I'm just going to choke you. It's, okay, I could choke you 3 different ways here. What are you going to do with your hands? Oh, okay, you do that with your hands. I'll do this. And you have these branches, and I call it the willow tree. If you think about a willow tree, the willow tree grows up, and then it just goes like this. And it almost touches the ground. Mm-hmm. And you have all these branches, and each branch has 52 little fingers that reach off of it. Right?
2 fingers.
I don't know. 62 was my number for like 2 weeks. I'm
going to go count a willow tree branch.
He says 17 right? For everything.
Yeah, 62 was my number. 52 now. So it's like the tree, the willow tree, where every move is a branch of the willow tree, and you can just go in any one of those directions. And as a brown belt, you have 4 in your mind for everything, and you're expanding. Some things you have 8, 10, 12 things that you can do, but every one thing triggers the next 4. As a black belt, you're going 5 or more, and it's never just, I'm going to do this. And if I didn't get that, what am I going to do now? It's, oh, okay, I'm going to go here. Oh, cool, he's going. Yeah, okay, I got this, I got this, I got that. And it's always a sequence of things.
And you feel like you know jiu-jitsu.
And then somebody else comes along.
Depends on who you're talking to.
Like, oh yeah, I'm really
down. Master Sower, you don't know anything.
Yeah, I'm excited for his seminar on Saturday.
So I have another question for each of the belts, because this is something that I think about a lot. And this is not even just going to be like a, oh, well, if you're a white belt, you think this way. If you're a brown belt, you think this way. This is definitely a individual perspective. But what type of person do you guys think makes your jiu-jitsu better? Whether it's a belt, a gender, or a body type. Who do you like to roll with that you know after that roll you're going to learn something? And I can start because I talk about it all the time, but I love, love, love rolling with the big, giant, brand new white belts.
Yeah.
What?
I love it. It makes me so happy. Like Maurice.
Their faces. Oh.
And James and people like them. I used to be terrified of them.
I'm terrified of them.
I like rolling with them.
That's why she's a killer.
Because they make me better.
Yeah.
Because that's who's going to attack me on the streets.
Yes.
And I want to know that if someone like them, who, I mean, they're learning jiu-jitsu, but if they don't know jiu-jitsu, I want to know that I can defend myself if they're throwing me to the ground. And I can do things.
So it gives you confidence, essentially.
And I like beating up boys. Because I can't beat any of you guys up. But then my other role is definitely, and this is a specific person, but it's Ellie. And that's because we're the same size. And she's got an entire belt on me. Like, she's a 4-stripe blue. So she is exactly 1 belt higher than me. And we tell each other all the time that we just make each other better.
Yeah.
So it's either brand new or Ellie. And we just...
That's it. That's all I want to roll with.
No. That's just who I think makes me the best.
Sure.
That's where I think I get my most experience from.
Yeah. I love the people who smash me. No homo. But yeah, whenever, because like, okay, moving on.
It's open for privates.
Yeah, but I have a style that's like very liquid, so I'm basically always moving, and I can always find a little space to like squeeze out of. But I find that the more people that smash me, the smaller spaces I can escape from. And that helps me continue my journey of movement with jiu-jitsu, and I feel like that helps me out the most. So like YouTube particularly smash me a lot, and that helps me whenever I roll with people my rank or my size that try to smash me and just can't anymore because I'm used to getting smashed from you guys.
So you like smashers, huh?
Yeah, I like when I get smashed.
Discount on privates if you're a smasher.
Yeah.
You know, usually it's the milkshake that brings the boys to the yard.
Yeah. So I regret that. Everybody's gonna come smash me now.
Okay, Dave.
Hashtag OnlyFans.
I like a couple of different ones. Like, I like the people who can kick the crap out of me because I find stuff and I learn stuff. I'm like, oh, that's something I haven't seen. I can pick that up. I can add that to my
Who
game.
beats the crap out of you besides me?
There's a couple of people that, like,
Veneration.
Evolution now. They're Evolution now. They broke off from Veneration.
Oh,
Yeah.
Drama.
Evolution?
Yeah. Couple of people at Neutral Ground.
Yeah. There's a few people
Like
that-
Dave Miller.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dave Miller.
But
He's
then
pretty... No, never mind.
No.
Never mind.
then I also like new people because then I can really sharpen what I have. Like, I can find details and I can do stuff that I can't do to, people my rank or higher.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I can use newer people to kind of find the little details.
That
Yep.
smashes people.
Or he rushes at them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or whenever he rolls with me, he's a perfect opportunity for a cog theory for me because he's basically giving me everything, and then on that last step when I'm like, oh, I have it, and then he's like, no. Like, the amount of times that I get into a traditional armbar and he's just like, yep, here's my arm, and I'm like, maybe he'll let me get it, and then he's like, no.
Oh yeah. I had my whole entire body on his arm the other day,
Did he curl you?
and no, it was upside down. It was like one of those straight arm locks over the top, and I think he just like posted his hand to the ground and just bent his elbow and was like, eh.
Yeah. He's done that to me too.
Yeah.
Who makes you better, Brett?
Everybody.
That's
Because
such a humble answer.
well, it's true though. I mean, the people that are like white belts and people that are a lower level than me, I don't smash them because I don't learn anything. If I smash somebody for 5 minutes, I don't learn anything from them. I've always preferred, like when I was a white belt. See, I told you when I started jiu-jitsu, and then when I actually started rolling all the time, I always felt like I had to play catch up because I started so long ago, and it's like, I should already be there. So
Right.
I was training like 6-7 days a week. I did that for a few years, but I always tried rolling with the highest ranking people in the gym. At least get one in with them, and but the lower ranking people, it's like you move with them, and you do learn stuff by just moving with them and rolling like that, rather than just trying to smash them.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. That's fun.
Yeah. So yeah, everyone. I mean, the newer people sometimes, I mean, they don't move the right way or something. I'd rather roll with a black belt than a white belt as far as injuries go, because you won't get injured as easily rolling with a black belt as you would a white belt, and especially a new white belt.
Right.
Yeah.
And you want to see two people get hurt. If you want to see two people get hurt, throw two new people rolling with each other. It's a
What are we
train
doing?
wreck.
Oh.
It's a train wreck. They're squeezing and snake biting their arms.
Fish hooking and everything.
Fish hooking.
I love the picture of the pizza boiling in the pot. White belts teaching white belts techniques.
Speaking of snake bites, yesterday Amelia, Jason Bergman's daughter, she's like, what, 6, 7 or something? She comes up to me and she's like, do you want to grapple? And I was like, well, yeah, I can't say no to that. So we get there. I'm about to slap bump with this girl. She did not slap bump me. She immediately hair grabbed me. Threw me to the floor. And then she took my arm and I gave her my arm and she snake bit it. And then she went around my back and she pulled my finger. And I was like, Ellie and Denise were just watching all of this. And I was just like, hey, there's no, like, I was trying to be really nice. I was like, hey, no digits in jiu-jitsu. And then Ellie's like, she's Bergman's daughter. What are you talking about?
Bergman's daughter.
That's totally.
And I was like, we are not grappling. We are cat fighting. But okay, let's go.
She's getting ready for the playground.
She does all that except for the hair pull to Jason. Jason Paul.
Jason probably taught her all that.
Yeah.
Oh, sure he did.
That's awesome.
The snake bite even.
Jason does that to white belts. Oh, that's funny.
Stop moving. Oh, wow.
All right, who makes you better? No one. I make myself better.
No, Master Sour actually, not even rolling, but just the learning that I get from Master Sour. It's kind of invaluable at my level. Like I said, I also learn from Rob and Mike, and even when you guys teach, it's kind of cool to see, the way you have added your own flavors to the things that I've taught you. But as far as rolling, there's specific people. Jeff Sass is definitely one of them, and Adam Conley. Like, those guys are puzzles to me. Not so much that I'm in danger from them, and Brett also. Not so much that I'm in danger, like, you're not going to catch me, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how to catch you. And that's not something I have a hard time with, typically. So, figuring out, like, okay, Brett's going here, Brett's doing this, Brett's doing that, shoot. Okay, I'm in a bad position now. All right, I'm gonna sit here for a while because I ain't getting out. And it's the big guys like you and Jeff Sass is 230 and Adam's 230, and those guys are very difficult puzzles for me to figure out. So because my style is compress and open up a space so that you go out, I can't compress those guys because they're too big for me to contain. So there's always so much space that when they go out of the space, I can't cover the space that they get out of. So that's a puzzle for me. It changes how I have to roll with them. Yeah, I do not like rolling with newer white belts. Under 1 and 2 stripe white belts, I do
have fun with that. I just hold them.
Yeah.
I really do think I have a bias with it though, because I'm a small female and they're not going to try to smash me. Maybe they will, but I don't think they would go after me the way they would go after you.
Yeah.
So it's probably more unenjoyable for you than it is for me.
They're spazzy with me, and it's more just me protecting my face and protecting my knee and like making sure I don't get hurt. So I'm not able to attack or do jiu-jitsu. I'm completely on, like, I don't want to get my teeth knocked out right now.
Maybe that's why I like it.
I don't want to get gi burn on my face or get my face rubbed across the mat, and like there's certain positions I can't let them get into because they're just rough. And I don't want to get roughed up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just try not to get in bottom side control with them. That's my biggest goal. I can get out of mount with them, but if they're in side control, it's very difficult for me to get out of big new white belt side control.
I really do like rolling with blue and purples though, because I can work on stuff that I've been working on, and they give a really good fight to the new stuff that I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, like a real jiu-jitsu fight?
Yeah, like a real jiu-jitsu fight where it's like, I'm not real good at this, but I'm going to try, and if I get it on a high-level blue or a purple, then it's probably going to work, and I can move it on up the line. If I get it on a white belt, it's like, oh, they're a white belt, and then a white belt.
I can just push them over.
Right. So I do like rolling with the blues and purples. Ellie's a fun roll. You guys are both fun rolls.
Mm-hmm. I love rolling with you four.
Aww.
I just love rolling with everybody. So.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I roll with anybody. I actually roll until nobody's rolling about every time.
Until you get yelled at to go home.
Yeah. We gotta go. Huh? What do you mean? It's 9:30.
9:30.
Oh. It was just 8 o'clock. I don't know what happened. That's one thing I love about jiu-jitsu, though. It's just time flies when I do it, no matter what I'm doing. Like right now on last Thursday, I did from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. And it was just like blink of an eye. And I was like, that was great. And I was energized for the rest of the day. And then I came back to the gym later. And it was awesome.
Psychopath.
I loved it.
Sounds like a great day.
My knee pads kind of stuck to my skin. And I was trying to like loosen them up throughout the sessions, but yeah, I pulled a little bit of skin off when I pulled my knee pads off.
I did that when I did my Ironman. I still have scars on my hips.
That was uncomfortable.
Sunk in, yeah. I get it.
Yeah,
I told him, I was like, maybe that's a sign of overtraining.
It's different when you're teaching.
So he has knee pads, likes to get smashed.
Sells his privates.
Privates.
Uh-huh.
OnlyFans.
I'll put a link in the bio.
Asian fetish.
So I feel like there's a lot of theories between the different belts. Like I went through one that I saw. You have a couple that you've talked about, and like we've talked about the library. We've talked about the bowl of rice that Master Sauer talks about. I feel like there's a lot. Yeah, learning the ABCs basically. We've talked about that one, but there's a lot of different theories for each belt. And is there anything that we did not talk about that you guys wanted to talk about?
Yeah, like how's it feel to be like a purple belt or a brown belt and walk into a school you've never been to? Because like as a white belt, everybody knows like, white belt. As a black belt, everybody knows like, oh, you put in a lot of time, you probably know a lot of great things. But like, how's it feel as a purple or brown to go to a place where you know nobody?
I think you always have a big target on you. There's always everybody tries beating you up. You know.
Yeah.
Is it because you're
And I'm
new,
sure
or is it because you're brown?
It's because you're brown.
Okay.
Every time you have a target on you. Every
The higher
drink
level.
Yeah.
They want to see how they do.
Yeah.
They want to know, oh, there's a purple belt. Like, think about you with the purple belt girl that you saw. You're like, oh, I want to roll. I want to see how I do against the purple belt girl.
Yeah.
And it's when you have that color, I walk into a school and I know everybody's going to gun for me. Like, I don't walk into a school going, I'm just going to flow today. I'm just going to move around a little bit. That doesn't happen at other schools.
It's almost like we're going to see how this guy rolls, and you're going to be able to tell in the first 5 seconds.
Yep. When I was in Brazil, we were supposed to go to Holker Gracie's school, and Holker doesn't like Americans much. But every time Americans go to Master Sauer's Posada, they take the American crew to Holker, and he gets all of his black belts there specifically to roll with all the American black belts.
Oh.
And they'll take turns. So there'll be 5 or 7 American black belts, and there'll be 15, 20 Brazilians. And the Brazilians will get rest, and the Americans don't for like an hour. And it's just one after another. Just Brazilian black belts going after the Americans because Holker doesn't like Americans. But it's good training for the Americans.
I can imagine.
So, and I was supposed to go, and I was one of 2 black belts this year because of COVID, and the other black belt didn't end up going, so it was just me going. I'm like, I am not going just by myself to be the only black belt to roll with 15 Brazilian black belts where they all get a rest, and I'm just
sounds like a great Shark Tank.
I didn't end up bringing my gi because I didn't want to just get crushed the whole time. When we went to Rio de Janeiro, because that's where Holker's Gracie Academy is. And but normally there's half dozen or so black belts that come in. Next time, if there are a half dozen black belts in February when I go back, I will train at Gracie Academy down there.
Cool. Do they do any no-gi in Brazil?
I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure. So it was weird because they wear their same gi for like 3 days.
Yeah, but you put it in the sun.
They put it in the
good.
sun and they bake it out. Yeah. So morning session, they'll do their morning session. They put it on a
fine.
chair, bake it out, put it on for night session.
You know how good UV kills things? The
It
smell?
was a culture shock. It was a culture shock.
No.
Yeah.
But it was $10 to wash one gi.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing it. So I'm like, let's put it out there. Because I only brought 3 and we were training twice a day for 7 days. So
That sounds awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Do your belts feel different as no-gi practitioners? Do you think it plays as much of a role if you go to like a no-gi class, or especially if there's someone you don't know but you meet for the first time at a no-gi level?
If they don't know what your rank is, then it makes a big difference. If they know what your rank is, then as a black belt, I get 2 responses. Either they try to kill me,
Mhm.
and then I kill them, or they're very defensive and they don't try
scared.
anything,
Yeah.
which I don't like. I'd rather them try to kill me than to do that. But if it's another higher level brown or black belt, then we can say, hey, we're gonna go hard, or we're gonna just flow. And most of the time, once you agree at the beginning of it, that's kind of the pace that you keep. A couple
Mhm.
guys will elevate. I try to keep it pretty even, but
Yeah. It's always funny when the next step, and then there's the next step, then
yeah.
all of a sudden at the end of the roll, everybody's going 100%.
Yeah, and I'll actually say something once it starts to get there, and it's like, we need to slow it down just a little bit. I can turn it up too, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, I got 4 more rolls after you, so.
Yeah.
What is it like for you guys to listen to my perspective as a white belt? Like knowing that you were here once long ago. Is it interesting to you, or is it just like, oh yeah, I've been there. I don't feel that way anymore.
Sometimes. I mean, sometimes they hear it, and sometimes it's just completely different perspective from the way I saw things and what I went through as a white belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a female white belt too, it's different.
Oh,
probably.
yeah.
So.
And we all have been brought up under different like teaching structures.
They have. We haven't.
Well, I mean, when he started teaching me versus when he started teaching you, he got better at teaching.
I've gotten a lot better at teaching.
Not saying he was bad before either.
No, but you rank up just like in business.
Mhm.
I've learned a lot about business in the last 5 years that I just didn't know 5 years ago, 3 years
Mhm.
ago. I just didn't know. It is great for me to hear your perspective because it lets me learn what the majority of the students are, because the majority of the students at Fluid are white belts. So to hear the perspective of a white belt helps me get into their mind so I can give them what they need for the next, to raise them up to the next level.
Yeah.
So it's great for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another reason that we started this podcast, so that like in 10 years, if we get bored or whatever, we can look back and be like, remember when we were white and blue? Let's listen to what we were talking about then. And like, oh, what idiots.
Oh, we didn't know anything about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But I'm sure, I mean, you guys feel that way when you hear somebody say something that you've said in the past, and then you try to help them get through that because you've been there. Which is probably huge.
We didn't
It's just
have this
hard.
type of media back in when we started, so you don't hear any old time like white belt perspectives.
Mm.
No,
Yeah.
because everybody was. That's
Yeah, and we didn't have video we recorded on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like we'd have a little camcorder out there.
That's what Rome said. Rome was like, I would have done this if I was your age and I had the media.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, because I was training at your age and I just, well, not, he was in his like 40s, I think, when he started.
Yeah.
But
first
he was
time.
like, I just didn't, if I was your age, I just didn't have the media to do it, and I would have, and I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, no, it's an awesome idea, and more so even for you guys to look back in 10 years, 15 years, and go, oh, I've learned so much since then.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I've learned so much in the last just 2 years. Like, just imagine, thinking about where I was when I first started to where I am now, and I'm sure you guys can all feel the exact same way. just from where you started to where, like, I can't even imagine you as a white belt. Like, I just don't even know.
Maybe some fish hooking.
All 4 of you. It's hard to, in my eyes, to picture any of you as a white belt at one time. It's just crazy to me, but everyone has to start at a white belt at some point. And I was with him when he was a white belt, but I wasn't training. So thinking about that, where I'm just like, how are you ever a white belt when you're at where you're at now? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, but like we watch our videos of competition, and we both are like,
right.
People who don't start don't ever have a day one.
Yeah. Well, everybody that starts has their first day.
Everybody who starts, yeah.
First
Yes.
guy got choked a lot.
Everybody gets choked a lot. Stupid wrestlers. Let's put my head out here. Here, you can choke me. Harder.
oh yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's been about an hour and a half.
Yeah. What are your guys' favorite belts that you've had so far? Is it always just the one I have right now?
The one I had last.
What would you say? I would say right now my blue belt's my favorite belt, but like nobody's gonna say my white belt was my favorite belt. I don't think.
My white belt's my favorite belt.
Good for you.
Sing. OnlyFans.
You guys have one? Or does anything come to mind?
I competed a lot at blue and purple. I enjoyed those belts quite a bit. I have a few wins at purple against some black belts, so that was pretty cool. So some good accomplishments for me.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I've been a black belt for over 6 years now, so I've had more experience with the black belt.
Sure.
And being able to pass that on and watch you guys get as good as you've gotten because I'm teaching, like, that's pretty dang rewarding. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see you guys win competitions on stuff that I just showed you, a week or a month before. That's pretty awesome.
That's how he feels about teaching privates. Too.
Yeah, it's just a great feeling. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you hit that! I just showed you that. Like,
He did that with
so-
Lucas. Lucas had a takedown that they just worked on Ian in class, and he was like, "We just worked on that."
nice. Yeah, I did that with Anthony Pettis on his first UFC fight.
Nice.
I showed him the move he won with 3 days before he had that fight.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because he's like, I get to triangle all the time. I can't finish it on wrestlers. I'm like, well, you just got to hook under his leg. And I saw him thinking, too, in the fight. He had the triangle, and then he hooked under. Guy tapped out. It was Bartholomew. Say his last name was Bart something. Bartowski or Bartowski or something. But I remember going, I just showed him that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Your technique's on TV.
Yeah. I didn't get any credit for it.
Yeah.
He came back, because I was teaching at his school at the time. He came back, and we rolled a 5-minute round, and I tapped him out 3 times in that 5-minute round. And he goes, well, thanks for bringing me back to reality.
That's awesome.
That was 12 years ago.
Wow.
What about you guys? Do you have a favorite belt though?
Not really,
okay.
no.
Okay, well, I should ask then, what is your guys' least favorite belt? Since you guys have had more belts than us.
What's your least favorite belt, Brittany?
A white belt.
Can you explain your answer?
Not having a belt, right? That's
Yeah.
I think 2-stripe white belt. If I had to break it down, 2-stripe white belt was the worst of the 4 so far. Because
Sure.
2-stripe is where I was just like, well, I'm getting good. No, I'm
No.
not.
That's a continuing motif in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I think everybody feels they should be better than they are.
Yeah.
You always feel like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dave started running away from his stripes.
Stop it.
He tricked me on the last one. Waited until I took my belt off and just took it.
You think I'm dumb? I've learned your game.
Nope.
Might have to call you up in front of the class.
After lineup.
Dave's the only one who gets it a little different.
I would
That's
have to say so far the most exciting belt rank to get was like my first stripe.
As a white belt?
As a white belt, because then it's like I'm finally getting somewhere. And then I would say my blue belt because it was like, well, I'm not a white belt anymore. I'm
Yeah.
You know, them probably, as far as the most exciting ones, I'd say going to them transitions, them were
Okay.
for me.
Yeah, but that's because when you started, a blue belt was like mythical,
Yeah.
right?
But then if you roll with a blue belt when you're a white belt, a newer white belt, you're like, I'm never going to catch this guy.
Yeah, that's right.
And then all of a sudden one day, hey, doing all right.
Yeah.
And then, okay, if the guy's not just trains, 2-3 days a week and you're training 7, you end up passing him up because you're spending that much more time on the mat. And it's like, hey, I never thought I was ever going to tap him. Now,
Almost even or something.
or you pass him up. You pass him up, and you pass him up in rank, everything, and it's like, wow, that guy, he was, you never forget how he was. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, he was really something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now I'm something.
Oh, I can't believe I'm here. Then here comes the next guy along.
Yeah. And the next guy's passing you up. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool perspective.
Well, you guys have any last minute advice before we?
Train jiu-jitsu.
Just keep training.
It'll change
Just
your
keep
life.
rolling.
Let's roll, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll change your life
Mm-hmm.
for the better.
Yes.
Yep.
Thanks, guys,
Oh,
for coming
absolutely.
on. This was super fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed having you guys on the talk today, so appreciate that. We got all 5 belts here, which is super cool. I don't know how many times that there's been like long form talks from all 5 belts. I've seen articles and stuff like that, but I don't know about something like this.
Cool. Call it jiu-jitsu time. Put it up.
I follow
Gotta let 'em
Jiu-Jitsu
know.
Era times. It's like the female version of it. It's cool.
Very cool.
Sweet beans.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much. And if you like this video, give us a good rating, subscribe, like, share it with your friends. We appreciate
Like and
everybody.
share. You can say it, you just can't type it.
Uh-huh. All right, thanks, everybody.